Good evening, all. Today we are going to learn about the gradient descent for machine learning under the course Machine Learning and presented by myself, Siddhi Sarde, under the guidance of Dr. S.A. Thorat sir. So, what is the agenda of our PPT or our subject? First is introduction, second is what is gradient descent, how gradient descent works, importance of learning rate, how to make sure it works properly, and last, types of gradient descent. So, coming towards the introduction, what is gradient descent? Gradient descent is by far the most popular optimization strategy which is used in machine learning and deep learning nowadays. It is basically used when training data models can be combined with every algorithm and is easy to understand and implement. So everyone who are working with machine learning should understand this concept. We will walk through how gradient descent works, what types of it are using today, and its all over advantages and trade-offs. So, what is gradient descent? Gradient descent is nothing but an optimization algorithm which is used to find the values of parameters, that is, we can call it as coefficients of a function that minimizes a cost function. So, gradient descent is best used when the parameters cannot be calculated analytically, that is, using linear algebra, and must be searched for by an optimization algorithm. So gradient descent is simply used to find the values of a function's parameters, which we can call it as coefficients, that minimizes the cost function as possible. So gradient descent, we can say, simply measures the change in all weights with regard to the change in error. So you can also think of gradient as the slope of a function. So next, what is gradient descent? Continue from last slide. The higher the gradient descent, the steeper the slope and the faster model can learn. So but if the slope is zero, the model stops learning. In mathematical terms, a gradient is a partial derivative with respect to its input. So what is cost function? Cost function is the function that measures performance of a model for any given data. So cost function quantifies the error between the predicted values and expected values, and it presents in the form of single real number. Also, we are coming to an example. Imagine a blindfolded man who wants to climb to the top of the given hill, and with the fewest step along the way it is possible. So he might start climbing the hill by taking really big steps in the steepest direction, which he can do as long as he is not close to the top. So as he comes closer to the top, however, his steps will get smaller to the avoid overshooting it. So this process can be described mathematically using the gradient. See, imagine the image on the left illustrate our hill from top down view and red arrows are the steps of our climber. Think of a gradient in this context as a vector that contains the direction of the steepest step the blindfold man can take, and also how long that step should be. So note that here gradient ranging from x0 to x1, and it is much longer than the one reaching from x3 to x4. This is because the steepness or the slope of the given hill, which determines the length of the vector, is less. This perfectly represents the example of hill because the hill is getting less steep the higher its climb. That means here hill is getting less steep the higher its climb. Therefore, a reduced gradient goes along with a reduced slope and reduced step size of the hill climber. So, how gradient descent works? Instead of climbing uphill, think of gradient descent as hiking down to the bottom of the valley. This is better analogy because it is minimization algorithm that minimizes our given function. Also, the equation given below describes what gradient descent actually does. Here, B is the next position of our climber. A represents his current position, The minus sign refers to the minimization part of the gradient descent. The gamma in the middle is a weighting factor, and the gradient term f of a is simply the direction of the steepest descent. So next, let us look at the example. Here, imagine you have a machine learning problem and you want to train your algorithm with gradient descent to minimize your cost function g of w and b and reach its local minimum by tweaking its parameters w and b, which is shown in the image shown left, which is shown at the left side. The image on left shows the horizontal axis represent the parameters w and b, while the cost function j of wb is represented on the vertical axis. Gradient descent is nothing but one of the convex function. Also, if we know we want to find the values of w and b that correspond to the minimum of the cost function marked with the red arrow, which we have seen in last image on the last slide. So to start finding the right values, we initialize w and b with some random numbers. Okay, we are initializing here w and b to the one of the random numbers. So gradient descent then starts at that point and it takes one step after another in the steepest downside direction, that is from the top to the bottom of the illustration, until it reaches to the point where the cost function is as small as possible. So what is the importance of this learning rate? Here, how big the data steps or gradient descent, that means how big the steps are, it is nothing but the gradient descent takes into the direction of local minimum are determined by the learning rate, which figures out how fast the gradient descent works. So for gradient descent to reach the local minimum, we must set the learning rate to an appropriate value, which is neither too low or nor too high. And this is important because if the steps it takes are too big, it may not reach the local minimum because it bounces back and forth between the convex function of the given gradient descent. You can see it in the left image below. If we set the learning rate to a very small value, gradient descent will eventually reach the local minimum, but that may take a while. You can see it in the right image. Okay, so here these two images shows the above illustration. For gradient descent to reach the local minimum, we must set the learning rate to an appropriate value, which is neither too low nor too high, which is shown in given graphs. Okay, so left one is big learning rate and right one is small learning rate. Also, you can see over here the learning rate should never be too high or too low. For this reason, you can check if your learning rate is doing well by plotting it on a graph. So next, how to make sure it works properly. A good way to make sure gradient descent runs properly is by plotting the cost function as a optimization runs. Put number of iterations on the x-axis and the value of cost function on the y-axis that I have shown in last slides. This helps you see the value of your cost function after each iteration of gradient descent, and it provides a way to easily spot how appropriate your learning rate is. You can just try different values for it and plot them all together and combinedly study how does it works. Okay, so the left image which I have shown in last slide shows such a plot, while the image on the right illustrates the difference between what are the good and bad learning rates. So these images can also help us to determine this good and bad learning rate. Here left image shows a plot and right image illustrate the difference between good and bad learning rates that I have marked over here by the black lines. So if gradient descent is working properly, the cost function should decrease after every iteration. As we are performing various iterations, the cost function decreases after every iteration if your gradient descent is working in proper way. When gradient descent can't decrease the cost function anymore and remains more or less on the same level, it has converged. Okay, so the number of iterations gradient descent need to converge can sometimes vary a lot. It can take 50 iterations, 60,000, or maybe even 3 million. Okay, so making the number of iterations to convergence hard to estimate. Here there are some algorithms that can automatically tell you if gradient descent has converged, but you must define a threshold for the convergence beforehand, which is also pretty hard to estimate. So this reason simple plots are preferred convergent test. Another advantage of monitoring gradient descent via plots is it allows us to easily spot if it doesn't work properly. So for example, if the cost function is increasing, okay, so the most of the time the reason for an increasing cost function when using gradient descent is nothing but the learning rate that is very high. So if the plot shows the learning curve just going up and down without really reaching a lower point, here you can try decreasing the learning rate. Also, when starting out with the gradient descent on the given problem, simply try 0.001, 0.002, 0.01, etc. values as the learning rates and look at which one performs the best. So, what are the types of the gradient descent? There are three popular types of gradient descent that mainly differ in the amount of data they use. So, first is batch gradient descent, second is stochastic gradient descent, and the third is mini batch gradient descent. Here, first type is batch gradient descent. So, what comes under batch gradient descent? It is also called as vanilla gradient descent. Calculate It calculates the error for each example within the training data set, but only after all training examples have been evaluated does the model get updated. So this whole process is like a cycle and it is called as training epoch. Also, some advantages of batch gradient descent are its computational efficient, that is, it produces a stable error gradient and stable convergence. Also, you can use fixed learning rate during training without worrying about learning rate decay. So it has unbiased estimate of gradients. Okay, we have seen it in last slides also. The more the example, the lower the standard error. Also, some disadvantages are having stable error gradient that can sometimes result in a state of convergence that is not the best the model can achieve. Even though we can use vectorized implementation, it may still be slow to go over all examples, especially when we have large data sets. So it also requires the entire training data set be in memory and available on the algorithm. So next type is stochastic gradient descent. By contrast, stochastic gradient descent, which we can call it as SGD, does this for each training example within the data set. Okay, so meaning it updates the parameters for each training example one by one. So depending upon the problem, this can make SGD faster than the BGD. Okay, so one advantage is the frequent updates allow us to have a pretty detailed data rate of improvement. The frequent updates, however, are more computationally expensive than the batch gradient descent approach. Also, additionally, the frequency of those updates can result in noisy gradients, which may cause error rate to jump around instead of slowly decreasing faster than the batch version because it goes through a lot less examples than batch. Okay, so next type is mini batch gradient descent. In mini batch gradient descent, we have to go to the method since it's the combination of the concepts of SGD and batch gradient descent. That is, it is a combination of SGD and BGT. It simply splits the training data set into small batches and performs an update for each of those batches, and this creates a balance between robustness of stochastic gradient descent and the efficiency of batch gradient descent. Hence it is called as the combination of these both. Also, common mini batch sizes ranges are 50 and 256, but like any other machine learning technique, there is no clear rule because it varies for different applications. So this is a go-to algorithm when training a neural network, and it is most common type of gradient descent within the deep learning. Also, common mini batches ranges from 50 to 256, as I have told you earlier. And this is a comparison between batch gradient descent, mini batch gradient descent, and stochastic gradient descent. Here blue line shows the batch gradient descent, green line shows mini batch gradient descent, and purple line shows stochastic gradient descent. This graph helps to find out how these three works in with correlation. So this was all about the gradient descent using machine learning. Thank you so much.